Senator Wyden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to commend you and the ranking minority member. I think it's a very important hearing, and I was listening to a bit of it. We're juggling in the office as well, and this is a particularly important topic in the Wyden household. My parents were German Jews. They all fled the Nazis in the 30s. Not all got out. We lost family at Kristallnacht and Theresienstadt. And I remember the accounts from my parents for years and years. My mother's side got reparations for many, many years. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not sure everybody in the audience would automatically identify with the phrase of Tikkun alum. But as far as I'm concerned, your organizations, day in and day out, are practicing Tikkun Olam, or in the Perfecting the World business. And I just want you to know, having watched your work for many years and have worked with a number of the people involved in your programs, we so appreciate what you're doing. I have only one question. I was trying to follow this situation that came out not too long ago with respect to the fraud that was perpetrated on the claims conference, the claims conference hardship fund and the Article 2 fund. And I think we'd all agree the claims conference does terrific work for the community. And of course, those funds make reparations directly to Holocaust survivors. An employee of the claims conference was sentenced to 8 years in prison for his role in this particular scheme, and my understanding is it's hurt more than 100,000 Holocaust survivors, and of course many of them who live in poverty. Give me your sense, because these are good people who are very committed, and I gather there was an internal report that came out a year or so ago. What's the status now with respect to the safeguards and the oversight that we all want to ensure the integrity of the program so that every single dollar gets to the people who so desperately need the good work that you all are doing?
I can address some of that, I think. I'm from the Association of Jewish Family and Children's Agencies, and we have agencies across the country who receive claims conference funding. Certainly some of the requirements of those agencies in terms of reporting have been increased, and probably the self-help is an example of an agency that gets claims conference funding, could speak to that more directly. But it is our feeling that, that the fraud was handled, that it's a thing in the past, that all of the oversights that are necessary are currently there. And I think that most importantly, that of course, the major funder of claims conference funding comes from the German government itself right now. And in the last negotiations with the German government, with the claims conference that were concluded last May, the German government agreed to an increase in their funding for the years 2015 through 2017, which I think shows a level of confidence in the way that the claims conference works and the way that they distribute funds, and ensuring that those funds actually get to the social service agencies to provide those vital services to the individuals that require them.
Good. Others?
I agree with Mr. Sherman's comments. Also want to point out that of the funds the funds that were obtained fraudulently, no survivor had any impact. There was no current survivor who lost money because of that. My understanding is that those were just false claims that were made, and actually it was Germany who paid out money, but it did not impact any survivor in their own pocketbook.
What, with respect to the fraud, my understanding was it took place over a decade, and that was what concerned me. Is that right? In other words, if you had this individual and he was able to do something for 6 months or something like that, that'd be one thing. But my concern was, having heard about it over a decade, that was why I wanted an update, and I'm pleased that you mentioned the increased oversight and vigilance, because as much as anything, when you have a good program, and that's why I started by saying the claims conference does incredibly important work, what you want to send a message to all concerned is these are people who have both their heart and their head in the right place. And if you think that this has been cleaned up, that's very much what I wanted to hear this afternoon. And again, just keep practicing Tikkun Olam, because I think a lot of survivors and Jewish family and child services is a special program in my hometown in Portland, help every single day, and we're very appreciative of it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.